Welcome to our ping pong ball machine's still here, and a ping pong ball, pinball.
That's right. And we get ping pong
too. We need a ping pong.
We need one.
table.
Or beer pong. Whatever. I'm in.
Kyle Brandt.
Hey.
Hey, everybody. We have quite a show planned.
Yeah.
For everyone.
Talk about it.
I mean, we'll, of course, talk Le'Veon Bell, who is $6 million not richer this morning after the deadline passed. We are going to talk some fantasy face-off. Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears might make an appearance in the show.
I'm in. Okay.
And rumor has it, though you're the insider, you can confirm, the Harlem Globetrotters may stop by as well.
We're going to trot the globe? Hey.
What are you hearing? Empty the notebook.
Sources are saying that a red, white, and blue basketball has been seen on the premises.
Whoa.
And in honor of the Chiefs and Rams electrifying game and those high-powered offenses, we might be doing a little Sweet Georgia Brown on the show today.
Hey, now. Yeah, right. The Raiders are going to get the confetti bucket on them? Is that what it is? All right. That's what my sources are reporting.
Keep tweeting the show at #GMFB. Let's talk Lev. Time for the lead block.
Lev block. Lead block.
Le'Veon Bell block.
Lev and let Lev. Since we last sat down here at the old breakfast table, the deadline passed without Mr. Bell signing his franchise tender with his Steelers. That was a legit deadline, and he is no longer eligible to play this entire season. Let's start with Aditi Kinkhabwala, who has so amazingly and comprehensively covered this from the jump, and she's in Pittsburgh.
Let's go all the way back to the last time the Steelers were about to face the Jaguars, which was in the playoffs. That week, Le'Veon Bell told a local ESPN reporter that he would not play under this franchise tag, that in fact he would even consider retiring before he would play under that tag. So now, of course, both sides did try to negotiate. But if we look at all the signposts over this past year, this was a standoff between a team that operates differently than any other team in the NFL other than the Packers, and that's in the way the Steelers give guaranteed money. They just don't like to do it. They don't like a cash flow in the first 3 years. And you had a player in Le'Veon Bell, a man in Le'Veon Bell, who wanted a traditional NFL contract. The two sides worked at it. Le'Veon Bell himself said he thought that they were close. He was disappointed it didn't happen, and despite what he said about wanting to come and play this year, despite what he said about being a Steeler, he also did tell us when Earl Thomas was hurt that he had no problem being the bad guy here. So if you go back to January and you go to what he said right there, Le'Veon Bell has clearly said he fancies himself a Curt Flood, a trailblazer, and he ultimately kept his word there.
Great stuff from Aditi Kinkhabwala. You guys can be part of the show at #GMFB. So it's done. Situation has been finalized, as Peter so amazingly put yesterday. We'll have an answer today on what's going on. But then, of course, there's the future to consider. So let's take it from a best case, worst case scenario, Nate. What's that for Lev?
Let's start with the worst case. The worst case is that Le'Veon signs with a team that doesn't have the talent that he played with. Doesn't have Antonio Brown, a complimentary wide receiver like Juju Smith-Schuster, an offensive line that opens up holes like no other team in the business, a quarterback that is a soon-to-be Hall of Famer, and there's some struggles. And then the criticism comes down, and it's the big I told you so, like everybody loves to do, coaches, fans, even us on TV. The best case scenario is that a team that needs him, he goes there and he balls out and proves to be one of the best running backs in the game. He's one of the top running backs in the league, one of the top receivers in the league. And on top of that, he gets the money that he wants. We're talking
$19 million money?
Well, you got to look what Todd Gurley is getting in Los Angeles. It's a lot. 16. So if Le'Veon Bell is being realistic, it's 16, 17, 18. I'm not sure if he's going to get 19 or 20, but if all these things fall into place, he's the best running back, plays with a team that can allow him to do what we're seeing right here on the screen, and he gets paid, Le'Veon Bell won.
I'm with Nate. I think the money to Le'Veon Bell seems to be the most important thing. If it was to play for just a ring, he would be in Pittsburgh right now and figuring it out. I think best case scenario for him is that there's a suitor for him. He makes more money than Todd Gurley next year. He sets the market, and for years to come, he's financially set. The worst case scenario for Le'Veon Bell in this situation is that 31 other owners say, I didn't love the way he handled that. I don't need that on my team. It looks toxic. It seems toxic. Seems like he's selfish. He's been suspended twice for off-the-field stuff. He missed a season. He might not be in shape. And 31 other owners say, we're not going to pay him even $14 million.
Is there a group email chain on that?
I don't know. I don't think they're allowed to do that.
No, they're not.
I think if you were to a man look to a team and say, why didn't you trade for Le'Veon Bell? A lot of the teams were saying, it's a lot. It's just not what we're looking for right now. That's the worst case scenario. And I'll add another wrinkle to it. Steelers legends are legends for life in Pittsburgh. Barry Foster can walk into any Steelers bar for the rest of his life, didn't win a Super Bowl, still gets to get the drinks for free. I mean, you can go through the list of guys like Sidney Thornton and Tim Worley and Rich Ehrenberg. Like,
Not the Francos. Those are obvious.
the Francos and the Bettises, we know.
Right.
Le'Veon Bell was in that conversation.
Yeah.
Now, if you read the tea leaves in Pittsburgh, the fans don't like him. The Pittsburgh media, who are, let's just say, conveniently quiet on trashing Le'Veon Bell till 4:01 yesterday, all of a sudden came out and Le'Veon Bell was the worst guy in the world because they don't have to face him in the locker room the next day.
Right.
I think it's a very interesting thing about your legacy in Pittsburgh, because when you're a Steelers legend, that's forever. And now I think, worst case scenario, I don't think Le'Veon Bell is that celebrated in Pittsburgh, regardless of the great seasons he had for the Steelers.
It's a huge pockmark. The reputation's marred, right? It's sullied.
Probably different if they won a Super Bowl ring, but they didn't when he was there. And now if they do it without him, or if they don't do it without him, it's not good.
100%. I'll just have a real moment here. The worst case scenario is anything that keeps everybody talking about this, including us. I'm serious. The Steelers are a great team. There's 32 teams. There's hundreds and hundreds of great players who are there with their pads on, ready to play. There is a filthy term right now for me called the transitional tag, where the Steelers can put that on him and still keep this marriage going, and an arbitrator determines the amount of money he'll be paid, and an executioner determines our fate at this table. That's my worst case scenario, that this divorce is not clean and that there's still some sort of connective tissue. The best case scenario, you want to look at Le'Veon? Best case scenario, clean cut from the Steelers. It's 100% done. He signs a big, fat, $50, $60 million deal with the Baltimore Ravens. He plays the Steelers twice a year.
Wow.
He plays with Lamar Jackson. The Ravens decide to move on from John Harbaugh. They hired Todd Haley as former coordinator, as the head coach. And we have Lamar, we have Le'Veon, and Javorius Allen for the LL Cool J backfield. And you can call it a comeback. And he has the revenge tour twice a year. That's the best case scenario.
LL Cool J back.
That's it.
I love that.
I can only suggest it.
It's very interesting to me that none of you really mention the thing that he says that he did this for, the impact on the other running backs, right? It's about a greater cause, at least according to him. So in my opinion, if that's true, the best case scenario has to be then helping these other versatile running backs. He used to be the only one, right? He was the unicorn, the guy that can do it all patiently, run through people, but also catch in the backfield. But now you have guys, Saquon Barkley has 62 receptions this season. James White doing his thing. Christian McCaffrey, guys like that. The best case scenario is that he gets broke off and he helps them get paid. And that actually works because that's a legacy. So you have your Steelers might be tarnished, but if you're the guy that does set the market, that does sort of change the way that these sort of running backs are being viewed, and there are more and more of them, that's the best case scenario. Worst case is, obviously, he doesn't get broke off. And let's not pretend the list of why he shouldn't or wouldn't get broke off is short, Triggs. You've got age to consider, durability, the fact that he'll be off the field, away from the game for a really long time, the fact that he's been suspended twice for off-the-field stuff, the fact that, I don't know, I think some teams will look at him and say, is it a risk? Is it rewarding like that kind of behavior because it's not team-friendly in their opinion?
All fair.
It's things that are going to be considered. So obviously there's teams like the Colts, the Raiders that have a lot of salary cap. I think somebody will pony up, but I mean the pivotal moment for this will be how does it affect the other running backs, because that seems to be what this whole thing was about, Kyle.
Yeah.
I wonder how the temperature at the table is on this. I have a very healthy skepticism about exactly how altruistic Le'Veon was with this. Le'Veon Bell is the guy who's going to carry the torch, or does he just really want to get paid and ran in the wrong situation?
Yeah, but how much does he have to get paid to offset a $14 million loss this year? Like, who's going to, I don't know.
He showed up to work yesterday, he got $6 million, and he said, good. That is some
probably wanted to save his legs. Peter, you have a very astute BS detector. You really think Le'Veon was in this for the good of the running backs?
I don't know.
Come on, dude. No way. No way.
Okay, let's move on here from Le'Veon Bell, but we'd love to hear your thoughts, guys, at #GMFB. If you were packing for a trip to Mexico City, we all know that that's, of course, not happening. The Chiefs and the Rams, you may want to go ahead and change your flights and your hotels. The game's been moved to the LA Coliseum after the NFL deemed conditions at Estadio Azteca unfit for play. We have Mike Garafolo with more.
Thank you, Kay. Well, showcasing the game on the international stage is very important to the NFL. So it was a tough decision for them to move this game from Mexico City to L.A., but they decided in the end that it was the right call because after consulting with independent field experts, as well as their own and those of the NFLPA, they decided that after all the rain and all the events that they had at Estadio Azteca recently, soccer games and a Shakira concert, that it was just going to be too dangerous for the players involved, and it was going to lead to a lower quality of play in what should be a really good game between two of the NFL's elite teams. Now, the Rams had decided to train in Colorado all week to get used to the altitude of Mexico City. They're going to stay there. They're hoping maybe it'll be a bonding experience for them, then come back to L.A. on the weekend. As for the Chiefs, they didn't plan to travel until Sunday. I spoke to a Chiefs official, and he said the only thing that changes is our plane is going to go to L.A. instead of Mexico. Okay?
Great. Thanks, Mike Garafolo. Appreciate you joining the show here on Good Morning Football 2 days in a row. Of course, player safety, their wellness, their health at the forefront of what the NFL is doing in making these decisions.
Yep.
So let's talk about this matchup, which still will be the most exciting one of the week, in my opinion.
No question.
What's the one thing that you guys are looking for now that it's in L.A. or really just between two of the high-scoring teams in the NFL?
Yeah, you know, in 1972, Bobby Fischer took on Boris Spassky in a chess match that was legendary, that everyone in the world watched, Russia, U.S. Then in 84, Kasparov, you know Kasparov, he took on Anatoly Karpov in this amazing chess match.
Go on.
Move those aside. We've got McVay and Andy Reid. This is the greatest chess match we've ever seen between two offensive geniuses. Rook, tonight, whatever you want.
Where's Deep Blue?
Deep Blue. He's
Come on, baby.
The green-black computer. Get out of here with the computers. I want the humans. And McVay and Reid are two of the best to have ever done this in league history, and that is call an offense. And they're both on the same field in the seasons where both of them are having incredible years. I go back all the way, because I love the history, 1982, Week 14. The geniuses of offense back then were Don Air Coryell and Bill Walsh. This was as hyped as that game was. That game featured several Hall of Famers, and Wes Chandler and Charlie Joyner and Kellen Winslow and Dwight Clark all went over 100 yards. That one finished Chargers 41, 49ers 37. Fouts to Chuck Muncie. 2 minutes left to go. It was hyped up then, and it delivered. I want to see this offensive firepower from both sides deliver on Monday night in L.A. Mexico City thing is a shame because that would have been really cool, but don't take away from what will be the best game of the weekend and quite possibly the best game of the year. I am so excited.
Yeah, Peter.
Best game of the weekend, possibly best game of the year, and I will say the best two running backs in football are playing in this game. So I'm looking at Todd Gurley, Kareem Hunt. How often do we get the best running back from the past year up against the best running back this year? So this is going to be a matchup where as much as we love offense, as much as we love these quarterbacks throwing the ball downfield in the big-time highlights, it's going to be this right here. It's going to be who can control the ground and keep the other offense off the field. If Todd Gurley can do what he does best, which is everything in between those white lines, running in between tackles, catching out the backfield, getting screen plays, and going over the top for short yardage touchdowns, this could be the game that we see this offense for the Chiefs struggle because they're on the sideline. You control the clock, you save the game. So that's what I'm looking for out of this matchup. Todd Gurley up against Kareem Hunt.
I'm wondering if Todd Gurley steps it up a little bit given the fact that Cooper Kupp is out. That's the one thing I'm looking for from the Rams perspective, but also selfishly from a fantasy perspective because, you know, somebody's going to have to step up. I'm looking at those tight ends, right? Gerald Everett looked great. Tyler Higbee, both of them scored touchdowns last week. And against the Packers, when Cooper Kupp first suffered a different injury and he went out, I'm looking at a guy like Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds in that game, guys, scored 2 touchdowns. So it's really how does this offense step up? And I think that they will. And I believe in Sean McVay and really all of the talent that they have. But I do believe that it shouldn't be understated what a big part of the offense Cooper Kupp was, if even just to be a reliable option that was used, you know, as dinks, but also down the field. I feel like he doesn't get the love for doing that, but I know about it because Drake showed it to me like all of last year, when, honestly, in his rookie season, and he's only built upon that. So that's a hole they're going to have to fill.
That's Jared Goff's favorite target.
That's his guy.
That's a big deal.
Mexico would have been fun, but it's the NFL. You can play it whenever, wherever people will show up. I'm going to look at Marcus Peters against his old team. As a corner, all you really have is your reputation, and it rises fast and it goes fast. Look at guys this year. Jalen's not having a great year. Certainly Malcolm Butler's taking his lumps. Right now, Marcus Peters needs to have a game against his old team. And who's he playing against? Of all the people to have a game against, the fastest human being on the planet, Tyreek Hill. There's also something really juicy. Marcus Peters in the offseason sat down with Michael Robinson in Culver City way months ago, and this is when the Alex Smith thing had just happened to Washington, and he talked about it. Tell me about this new quarterback, Mahomes.
Talk about Patrick Mahomes, man. You got a chance to go up against him a lot at practice. What are you expecting in this game, and what can fans expect from Patrick Mahomes?
I'm expecting turnovers, and I'm expecting to win.
Oh, you in competitive mode right now. Yeah, so you expecting to get some turnovers off of him.
But
already.
He know how to give me the ball.
You know how to get me the ball. Mahomes knows how to get him the ball.
Wow.
His teammate with the Chiefs last year will now be facing him. Guys, Marcus Peters needs to have a day. We saw what happened against New Orleans.